and this chapter is super simple, super short, super sweet, which is it's basically an endorsement of EOS, the whole chapter, right? So I talk about. Yeah, I open the chapter with, sometimes in life you just kind of sit back and say thank you, like healthy kids, national parks, the democratic process, the iPhone, right? Like you just kind of sit back and like say thank you. And EOS is one of those things in terms of my life. And the story goes, and if you want to read about our approach to and thinking about why we ended up inside the EOS mechanism, chapter 14 is a real short read and explains it. But the quick summary is that I had been really tossing around this thing for years called levers and pulleys, and it was this concept of like how to coordinate all of the work going on inside of the company and coordinate communication, and it was like a hot mess times 20, right? I mean, it was rough. And so I'm sitting down with John at one point, and I said I'm explaining this whole thing to him, and he kind of looks at me with this like long sort of sympathetic stare, as John can do, and says, you're really talking about EOS, man. Like that's what you're describing here in terms of what you need. And then it was a big part of John coming on board with our organization and doing an EOS implementation with us. And so he had Bob and I read this book, Traction. And I read Traction. Those books, like you read them and you like hold them up in the air as you're reading them because they're so like meaningful and important. And I just that was what EOS was for me, and I still love it. The underlying premise, and this is just a quote from the book, but the underlying premise is that all organizations need a business operating system that guides how all pieces of the enterprise work together to produce the best results most effectively, right? And that's kind of like my biggest endorsement of EOS right there. And it is proven to be to me is a beautiful transition. And so anyway, that's what chapter 14 is. It's just simply an endorsement of EOS.